Church family, this is Pastor Aaron coming to you here with a weekly word here in the middle of the week. I wanted just to sort of catch my breath with you and invite you to do the same thing. I've been praying for you and praying for our community, praying for our city, our state, praying for our country and our world, as no doubt you are reading the headlines of incredible brokenness, people wrestling with anger, sometimes righteous anger, sometimes unrighteous anger, people dealing with letting their voice be heard, but also trying to listen and hear a different perspective. And sometimes people feel paralyzed. They're just not even really sure what to do. You know, I want to be a person of prayer. I want to be a part of the solution, certainly not part of the problem. So how do I do that? One of the things that I've been trying to do is just educate myself. I want to hear, I want to understand perspective that are outside of my own perspective. And so I've been doing a lot of listening. I've been doing a lot of just trying to hear, trying to understand a perspective that is different than my own or an experience that is different than my own. I'm trying to speak up in the right ways, and there are certainly times where we are called to let our voice be heard, so that when we see racism in our world, that we should have the courage to say that does not please the heart of God, and the sin of racism is a systemic and generational thing that we must deal with sometimes in our own hearts and certainly in our world around us. So we have to learn to listen, and we have to learn to speak, and we have to know the difference of when to do one and when to do the other. We have to learn how to grieve with those who grieve. I think that's certainly a scriptural principle that many of us are engaging with right now. And even if you felt the heaviness and the brokenness in your world, and maybe have shed tears and come to the place of just feeling injustice and frustration, maybe just not knowing what to do, this can all be a part of grieving with those who grieve. And there's certainly nothing wrong with us doing that. We're called to do that as people of peace. I was reminded that the very first message that I ever preached at State College Alliance Church was when I was candidating to become the campus pastor, which Amy and I did we're in that role for 11 years. And that first message I ever preached here was from Micah 6:8. He's shown thee, O man, what is good. What does the Lord require of you? But to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. And I keep coming back to these verses, you know, to love justice. And right now there's people that are dealing with a righteous anger when they see things that have not been just. We deal with the issue of mercy and humility, and I'm just reminded how much we need these things so desperately if we are to reflect well the love of Christ. But church, listen, as much as there is difficulty and pain in this season, I want to encourage you that I believe that there is hope in the gospel that cannot be found in the world. The hope for the sin of racism is the gospel. The hope for the sin of oppression is the gospel. The hope for fear that binds us and causes us to fight in ways that we otherwise wouldn't is the gospel. And we have the tools of peace and the tools of faith at our disposal. And so something that we have not done, at least in recent history, and I believe the Lord is speaking and calling us to this in this season, that this summer, I've begun speaking with our pastoral staff to say, I think we need to lean in to the important issue of what does God say about race? What does God say about racism? What does God say about unity in the body of Christ? And the more that I reflect on it, the more that I begin to see the beautiful picture, an absolute alternative to what the world can give. The world can't give sufficient answers to these heart issues. And I absolutely believe that the gospel of Christ can. And so we're going to lean into this, even this summer, this hard issue. We've tried to make a habit of not running from hard issues. We're going to lean into this issue of race. And so I just want to give you an opportunity now to begin to pray into that. We don't want to be thoughtless or trite or just throw out ideas, but to really lean in together. What would it look like for us to grow in this area, grow in our understanding, grow in our empathy, grow in our racial diversity, grow in our ability to reflect better and better the heart of Christ for his world. So I would encourage you to join me in what I think could be a wonderful, wonderful and hopeful pursuit, even amidst what is a mess right now in our world. But God is greater than all of our messes, and so we're praying for him to do wonderful things. Reflect on Micah 6:8 this week. We look forward to seeing you at our next service. God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon.